Good afternoon, Lisa.
Good afternoon, Andrew.
Doctor Who and the Claws of Axos. Or Axos, if you prefer.
That is
Martha,
it's called. Hello, Mama.
Martha's meowing because I said Axos. I don't know why.
Martha.
Special edition.
Special edition.
Yes. So, what do we have to say? First of all, you better reveal your chest, haven't
Okay,
you?
oh God, okay.
Lean in with your...
Sorry, I've got hot water bottle. It's chilly. Okay. I am now. Right, so it says Pigbin Josh says Ooar. And then where do I get the rest of this?
You have to sort of hush them up. Like that. And there's Pigbin Josh's...
Yeah.
Shall we just pause like that for a minute? I'm sure that's a lovely view for everybody. Lisa, lean back. Or the fanboys will get overexcited.
Okay.
Right.
Sorry, give me a minute.
Are you leaning back?
Yes.
Right, good-o. It's March 1971. And we're barely a year on from Spearhead from Space.
Yes.
But doesn't it feel different?
It does. Yes.
It really does.
Yes, it does.
This is
This is
almost a different series, isn't it?
But this is John Pertwee's, or Third Doctor's Doctor Who as people remember it.
But that's the thing, because we've done Spearhead from Space, you rightly pointed out that we should do another Pertwee story.
Yes, because Spearhead's atypical.
It is.
The whole of season 7 is atypical. It's not, because it's started out by Derek Sherwin.
Yeah.
And Barry Letts takes over halfway through. It's not representative of the rest of the
Era.
The era.
I'm just going to put
Get your blanket
my
on.
Doctor Who watching blanket on because I'm cold.
Thank you, Janet Fielding.
Okay, right.
I don't do the accent.
Right. Weird title sequence variant. And one of the last times, actually, that the title sequence is not standard. Because you've had this a lot in season sort of, well, 5 and 6, I suppose, but 6 and 7 onwards, that the title sequence has never been quite the same from week to week. And this time, when you've got the Doctor Who logo come up, and you get the story title, it goes back to being the diamond bit. You don't get the swirly, sort of tunnel bit. But although you rightly said that it is different to Spearhead, compare the opening sequence. Which is almost shot for shot, isn't it?
Almost the same, yes.
Yeah, so you've effectively got the same situation being shot in a different way. It's a shame it's not the same people, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
You should have got the unit lady back.
Yes.
But this whole thing about we've discovered a comet. I don't know that you can necessarily tell that from a couple of blobs on your radar screen, because the whole point about when you discover a comet, certainly from an astronomy point of view using a telescope, is that you observe a blob in the sky one night, and then the next night you observe that the blob has moved slightly in comparison to the stars, because that's how comets work. And when I observed Halley's Comet, I had a map of the sky and where its positions would be from night to night. And the movement would be very minimal from night to night. So the idea that you can tell it's a comet just in 2 seconds
is a bit silly.
Is not exactly right.
But it's Doctor Who science.
It's Doctor Who science, which isn't exactly...
This isn't always right.
I do like the design of Axos as a ship, though. It is very, very organic.
Yeah.
And, you could have got some wonky model, but I think it's nice. And the fact that you can almost see it breathing as well. There's a lot of detail going on in that. I don't know how big the model was, but it is effective. Is it a mistake to show the axons, though?
Well, early on?
Yeah, because you get all the sort of...
You get the tentacles.
You get to see all their tentacles. And I think you shouldn't see tentacles on the first,
otherwise you
the first date, as it were.
Are you linking that to the golden humanoid you see later?
I don't know. Should you withhold your tentacles until you get to know somebody a bit better? I don't know.
Possibly, yeah.
I don't wish to comment on people's life choices, but top secret, written on a wonky file.
Not on a wonky file.
Well, in wonky
wonky lettering on the file.
Lettering in lowercase. It really is like something out of the Goodies, isn't it? You can imagine the Goodies stealing into some sort of secret base.
Yeah, and it says top secret.
And it says top secret on the file.
Yeah.
Chin's there, but who are Chin's friends?
That's his
assistant.
Yeah, well, it's probably his permanent private secretary.
Yeah, but you never get to see. They don't get a line.
No, you can't have too many people talking.
They're just there. Is this the same unit HQ as last week? Is it the same one as in the Mind of Evil?
Possibly.
Because I can't get my head around the way Unit HQ works. That it seems to move from location to location.
Yeah.
From story to story. Because the one in the Three Doctors
it's a sort of old
is not the same
No.
one as in the Mind of Evil.
No.
But is the one in the Claws of Axos the same one from the Mind of Evil? Because the sets seem to be different.
Yes.
Is it the same one as in Spearhead from Space? Well, clearly not.
No, and it's not the same now necessarily as in Terror of the Autumn.
No. So, like, is Unit HQ just, like, moving about from week to week? Like, is the Brigadier get a letter each week? Yeah. Please report to such and such an address where you will find your new HQ.
Yeah.
You know, please find the key under the mat or something. Why have Washington got involved suddenly?
I don't know. Well, to bring in Bill Filer, but yeah.
What accent is he doing?
American.
It's like one of my accents.
It's like one of your accents, yeah.
It really is. Yeah. I like the sort of the lights in the boxes on the wall, because in one shot you've got a red, a yellow, and a green light, which I assume are their alert conditions.
Yeah.
Later on, you just get a red and a green one in the Brigadier's office.
Yeah. Well, he don't need.
Doesn't he need to know about yellow alerts?
No, yellow alerts it's like red. It's either like danger or not.
But all three of them light up.
Yeah.
It's as though they don't know which one it is.
Yes.
Just press all the buttons at once.
Yeah.
Why doesn't Chin know about the Master? If he's come to investigate Unit, shouldn't he at least know what he's investigating?
Probably, but
it's never quite clear what Chin knows or what his authority is. Because he says about the Brigadier, you consider myself under your orders. Well, that comes out of nowhere, doesn't
Consider
it?
yourself under my orders.
Yes, that's what I meant. But I never quite understand what authority Chin has got in relation to Unit.
Well, he's meant to be a minister, isn't he? So he's like I think he's a junior minister in the Ministry of Defence.
Yeah, but there does seem to be some confusion over civil service and ministers and things like that, because the whole joke in Yes Minister is that if a department cocks up, the minister is the one that takes the blame for it. So, yeah, Chin and his sort of, because you get him on the sort of video phone later. I think it's episode 2, isn't it? It's your head on the block, Chin, not mine. And that's not the way the civil service works.
Well, it's not civil service.
Well, no, but you know, we shall see.
Well, he's not civil service. It says in the production notes they made him a minister because he has to take over the situation. They didn't think a civil servant would do that.
No. Okay.
So they make it. So he's a right-wing minister. It says that in the production note.
Okay. Vampire from Space.
Yes.
As a draft.
Yeah.
I mean, it's another of these stories that goes through various titles. Yeah. I think Vampire from Space is possibly a bit too much on the nose, isn't it? It gives it away too much.
It gives it away a bit too much, yes.
Although there is a title sequence transfer that does exist that says the Vampire from Space.
Okay.
I think it's on the disc somewhere, and I know we had a copy of it knocking about at some point from sources, shall we say? I like the brig getting rid of Chin just by saying there's a direct line, which just to me conjures up like direct line insurance. But and this whole thing about Axos having variable mass, Pertwee says that. And I just wrote a rude word starting with B at that point.
Right.
Because it's a line and it's never explained later on why. I mean, I like the idea of it having variable mass, but what's that supposed to give you a clue about?
Yeah.
And where does this lead? Because most things don't have variable mass. Don't quite understand. But it's this thing, and I will say it about sort of the Bristol boys. They have a very sort of freewheeling approach to science sometimes.
Yes.
And although I do enjoy sort of Baker and Martin stories a lot, I have to almost sort of take my science head off and put on my sort of Doctor Who head to enjoy some of it.
But that like John Pertwee, your Doctor Who
But
head.
yes, indeed. Enter Pigbit Josh.
Yay!
Mooching about on the beach.
Yeah.
With his bottle of meths in his hand or something. What's in his bottle? I said,
Well, it's alcohol of some kind.
Alcohol, meths, or paraffin.
Yes.
Have you ever been round there, Dungeness?
Dungeness? No, I don't think so.
I haven't. But
no, I haven't really been to that part of Kent at all.
I've been on a shingle beach because there's one at Brighton, and people know you're coming, don't they?
Yeah, you can't sneak up on people on a single beach, and you can't really walk on a shingle beach.
I was going to say you're in danger of going arse over tit.
He does actually slide at one point, doesn't he?
I know.
Like,
And what do you think about Joe's cosy in this one?
It's not terribly practical, is it? Knowing they were filming in January, you would have thought they might have put her in trousers. Because the fact she nearly gets frostbite is terrible.
Yeah, this would have been a health and safety nightmare later on, wouldn't it? I love the fact that Unit can only afford black and white monitors as well. They like wheel in the monitor. I don't know where they've come from, but...
That's because the ones that they took out for it got stolen.
Yeah, I was going to say they'd made actual proper prop monitors, and somebody nicked. What happened to these monitors? They got nicked.
Somebody wanted a colour telly.
And the black and white video monitors only show film if you look very closely. So though it's not a direct feed of anything. It's just some old stock footage of film. So the Brigadier should be going, this isn't live, this is like from 20 years ago
this
or
is
something.
Film.
Yeah, so somebody's just connected it up and just told the Brigadier that that's the live feed, and they're just lying, aren't they? But the whole thing about Baker and Martin coming from Bristol and being called the Bristol Boys, that's brilliant. We've been to Bristol. Have we been to Bristol?
I've been through Bristol.
You've been through Bristol.
I've never actually been to Bristol.
Well,
Bristol.
Warren and I went to Bristol to see John Pertwee in The Ultimate Adventure.
Yes.
And that's the night my wallet went missing. And we have the old joke that Pertwee nicked my wallet.
Yes.
But what happened was we went to The Ultimate Adventure in Bristol, watched John Pertwee, and I think that was the first time I'd ever seen him in real life, which is weird. We got on... We were waiting at the station.
It was a replacement bus, wasn't it?
And there was a bus to take you home. And I think there was a bus, a train link, and then another bus or something. And somehow my wallet disappeared during the journey. Because I remember that when we came to near Salisbury, the bus driver was lost, basically, because he came from Bristol and didn't know Salisbury.
Okay.
And I think Warren actually ended up directing the bus driver, because to be honest, at that point I hadn't driven very much, so I wasn't much use, but Warren, I think, knew his way around the roads a bit more.
Okay.
And I seem to remember Warren sitting in the front seat telling the driver when to turn left or something.
I love that.
So and Warren might not remember that, but I do. Corporal Bell, hurrah.
Yes, we like Corporal Bell.
We like Corporal Bell, but it's such a shame that this is her last story. And I really, much as we love sort of, Yates and Benton.
You would have swapped one of them for Corporal Bell.
I would have loved more Corporal Bell, and she is a great loss to Unit, really.
Do you think they called her Ding Dong?
Ding Dong.
Oh no, Ding Dong Bell.
Pussy's in the well. No, I'm thinking of.
I know you're thinking of.
Who am I thinking
Leslie
of?
Phillips.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ding Dong. And it is a great example of covering a production problem with a line, freak weather conditions. Because have we ever done any filming where the weather conditions have dramatically changed from shot to shot? I am thinking of Tide of Freedom.
Yeah, that's probably the nearest.
Where the weather deteriorated.
Yes, the further we got into the...
But because it was shot in order, it didn't really matter.
No. It gave it a certain dramatic edge.
Yeah. By the time we come to our final scenes, we've lost the light and it's horrible.
It was raining.
And it was raining and horrible. But I can perfectly understand. Had we had to shoot that out of order, it would have been a right old nightmare. So So back to Pig Bean Josh.
Yes.
And he's got a bike.
Yes.
So why is he interested in this other bike
Perhaps
that
the
he
other
finds?
bike's better than this bike.
But I like the way he picks it up and then just kicks it about a bit, and it's and how does it disappear? Oh yeah, how does it disappear? The Axon spaceship momentarily disappears, and we never pick up on the fact that it does.
No, perhaps it changes mass again. Or
well,
something.
in the novelisation, I believe Pertwee says briefly about it was able to avoid the missiles by slightly doing a time jump.
I was just going to say that. Did it jump in time?
Just a few seconds, because of course later on we find out its aim is time travel.
Yeah.
But and again, the script that ends up being produced is nowhere near the original script.
No.
But Terrance Dicks takes the opportunity to tie up a few loose ends in the novelisation. But and I love the way the fact that Chin has to give the order to destruct the missiles when they miss.
Yeah.
And everybody plays it as though, he's done it. But what if he'd not done it? Would they they're blown up like Norwich or something like that? Because the missiles would have had to have landed somewhere.
Yeah. Well, as the Doctor says.
But would it have been
must
like
come down.
everybody at Missile HQ would have been going, well, it's going to land on Ipswich and it's not our problem because the minister hasn't told us to do
told
anything.
us to do it. Yeah.
So as long as we've not been told, it's nothing to do with us. Take some responsibility for it, for God's sake. I like the bit when Pertwee plays the Doctor as being very, very cross.
Yes.
But having seen the behind-the-scenes footage, how much of this is John Pertwee being cross?
A little bit.
A little bit. Dancing around in my eye line.
Because there's that great behind-the-scenes shot, because John Pertwee is a little bit cross.
Yeah.
He's quite polite, though.
Yeah.
He's just a little bit cross. And then you've got Nick Corley going, oh, that line! Oh, I'm terribly sorry.
Because this is one of the I think this is the earliest surviving studio recording block. And although studio recording blocks can be tedious as arseholes...
We're looking at you, Time Flight.
And hello, Time Flight, yes. Yeah. This block for Claws of Axos is a lovely little window onto sort of how things worked. Pigbean Josh, nice yellow freeze frame.
Yes.
When he's doing his sort of Ooar! And then it just turns into yellow freeze frame and then it starts up again. And the Newton Power Complex is deserving of a tatty old road sign that's just been stuck there.
Yeah, just been plonked in the ground, hasn't it?
And Pigbean Josh's dialogue, which is Ooar? 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 For people who come from Bristol, I'm very disappointed in Baker and Martin.
And also, it's in the southeast of England.
Yeah, where's he come from?
Why does he talk like that? Just because he's a yokel, does it mean he has to have a West Country accent?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's come a long way.
Bad Baker and Martin. Or is he a Bristol yokel that's like sort of
travelled,
fell asleep on an overnight train or something and ended up pissed out of his mind or something. Yeah. And I just put tentacle attack as you get to see, Pigbean Josh being sucked in by the Axons. And I love the fact that he's still shouting "Ooar!" at that point, as though that's his only response to danger. How does Bill Filer's radio pick up Unit HQ
I
transmissions?
don't know, unless she's got a special radio.
Or are they just off of Radio 1, which was like 247 at this point? I remember. I remember Radio 1's old frequency.
Okay.
But I can sort of understand it, because when I was a young boy with my radio, which had 4 knobs on it, which are like long wave, medium wave, and like AM and FM and short wave, so maybe that was 5 knobs, I remember pressing all the knobs on a Sunday morning and like sweeping up and down the dial, and occasionally I could pick up police transmissions and things like that. And this is like sort of late 70s, early 80s. So yeah, it's not as mad as it seems, maybe. But yeah, Baker and Martin do put in the wacky ideas at this point. I mean, there's this whole thing about the spaceship looking like a skull and things like that.
Yeah.
And I like the idea that these are new writers who are just throwing out ideas willy-nilly.
And Barry Letts is going, no.
And Terrence Dicks has got the problem of going, well, yes, we could use that. No, we can't use that. No, that's mad as a brush. Maybe we could use that.
Yeah. No, we're not MGM.
Yeah, and I like the idea of a script editor
who's willing to try.
It's almost like they're chucking balls at him and he's catching as many as he can.
Yeah.
And some he's just got to leave behind.
Yeah.
And I don't think you'd get that in a writer's situation these days.
I don't know, because I'm thinking about the Pating.
The
Pating, who was somebody's idea.
Oh,
and
true.
And Chris Chibnall used it in the Saranga conundrum.
Okay, right.
So he came up with the idea, and they weren't able to get his story, but Chris Chibnall uses the character of the Pating. I like saying Pating.
Pating!
So yeah, it's possible.
Okay. The unit convoy is about the biggest unit presence you'll ever see.
That's like 6 cars and
motorbikes and everything, and the BBC OB van. Yeah.
With stuff stuck on it.
With stuff to disguise the fact that it's the BBC OB van. Filer leaves his lights on.
Yeah,
he gets out of his car.
His battery's going to be dead.
And yeah, I mean, nowadays you've got things in cars which beep at you.
It would go beep.
And you go, what's that beepy noise?
I've left the
lights on, yeah. But then so do unit, because they all draw up, turn all their engines off, and leave all their blooming lights on. Dreadful.
Yes.
You're in the OB van.
Well.
Yeah, and in studio, which is pretending to be the OB van, and I just put hundreds of close-ups.
Yeah.
And I just started, because Warren pointed it out to me when the first time we saw Claws of Axos. And it has to be said, when Claws of Axos is a very interesting one from a sort of archival point of view. Because when I sort of joined the DWAS in 1984, I remember a list of John Pertwee stories and their archival status being listed. And Claws of Axos was weird because some of its episodes existed as 625 line copies. Some of them existed as 525 line copies. And they all existed as black and white 16mm film recordings, which is what's used in Who's Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Because in Who's Doctor Who, it's in black and white.
Yes.
But yeah, when we first got our sort of pirate copy of it, Warren was amazed at the number of close-ups you got in this scene, because I counted them, and there are 20 camera shots, of which 18 of them are close-ups.
Yeah.
And you just do a wide shot, for God's sake! You know, you really are.
Michael Ferguson going bang, bang, bang,
bang, bang, close up, close up, close up, close up.
People say that there's too many close-ups and too much cutting nowadays, but Michael Ferguson's doing it in 1970.
Yeah, this is. Well, this whole production is, from a production point of view, is very ambitious, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, even here, there's an awful lot of just cuts, and Peter Moffat would have been appalled, But Axos calling Earth, Axos calling Earth. How do they know it's Earth? There's a clue.
Yes. Well, somebody's told them.
Somebody's told them.
Somebody's told them what the planet's called.
Yeah, and indeed, how do they speak English? Because I know we get the whole thing about the TARDIS translation.
But the TARDIS is nowhere near.
Years. But this whole thing that Arthur C. Clarke used to say, that if you were an alien species approaching Earth, the most information you would get about Earth would be from its TV transmissions. And frankly, the most useful stuff you'd get would be from its adverts. But I like the idea that Axos has been tuning into like sort of 1971 TV, so they've probably been watching The Goodies or something like that. So yeah. But the whole thing about Axos having buried itself in the shingle, I guess,
in the ground.
I don't quite know how it works because it's covered over, isn't it?
Yes, it's sort of.
All you see is the sort of
opening.
Entrance. I guess it's its front entrance. I don't know whether it's its back entrance or not. But it's all covered over by sort of soil and shingle and stuff. It's as though like some claws of Axos have come out and covered itself all over like a sort of...
Yeah, to keep it warm.
Yeah, sort of... Oh, it's not exposed. I don't quite know why. But do you think that whole thing about going into the entrance would have been sort of a scary image for kids?
Possibly. Yeah.
I'm trying to sort of guess what kids would have been scared by. And obviously the Axons. But this whole thing about there's a hole and you go into the hole and all that. And yeah, maybe kids would have been scared. The whole deflating face thing for Pig Bin Josh. I guess that would have been scary. But I said, the BBC OB van just does get a lot of use, doesn't it? And it's the sort of thing you would have done sort of sports coverage from, or even the good old days, or something like that. So the Axon set is bonkers.
Yes.
Because it's made up of so many different components, but it is very, very memorable.
Yeah.
And it is a very good example of pushing production to the absolute limit. Because you've got CSO elements, you've got weird bubbles. There's this whole thing about the foam machine sort of going on in the background, and the amount of stuff you've had to just put. You've got lava lamp overlays and things like that. It really is. Michael Ferguson really does go for it, doesn't it? What buttons can we press and see?
He's always like, what does this one do?
Yeah, so good on him for trying. Obviously it's season 8, so obviously you have to get Delgado at some point.
Yes, Delgado.
And he does very little in this episode. It really is like here he is.
He stands there. He's imprisoned, and he says to him, "What's your name?" And he says, "Who are you?" Bill says, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I am your fellow captive. I am the master." And there's a crash zoom on Bill Filer.
And this whole thing about the Axon family, obviously it's Bernard Holly, sort of present in Z-Cars.
Yeah.
Because there is the story about him coming on set with his Z-Cars hat on.
Okay.
Like with his
gold makeup. With
his helmet, demonstrating that.
I spend the whole time thinking, because they've got those, whatever it is, over their eyes, haven't they?
The ping pong ball things.
I mean, are they taped over their eyes?
I don't know how they're fixed. They've got little dots in them so they can see out pinpricks or something.
They haven't put them in their eyeball, because that would be painful.
And I like the fact that his voice is very slow at first, as though speaking is an effort for him.
Yes, he's trying to sort of get used to... Yeah.
It is quite a nice choice that I've never spoken in this sort of language before. You've got the sort of rather weird looking sort of axonite, and in the book it is described as shifting in colours. So you can imagine how they plan to do it with CSO and lava lamp overlays and things like that. Although it ends up as a sort of dark orange lump. Yeah. There's only so much you can do in the time, isn't it? But yeah, I like Pertwee picking holes in the Axon Man's story. It's like you still ran out of energy or something. And the toad. Let's talk about the toad. Do you like? You quite like creatures generally.
I've never met a toad, but I don't think I would mind them.
Yeah.
They're a bit freaky when they jump, probably. But
all right, okay. But yeah, I mean, we've said this. I don't know if we've said this on video necessarily, but you and I are both very fond of animals, just sort of generally. Yeah. So you're not scared of spiders, for example?
No, I try to catch them and let them free. I'm talking to them the whole time. I'm going,
come on, spider.
I'm going to put you outside now.
So yeah, a toad, you quite happily.
Toad.
Hello, toad.
Yeah. I do it with insects as well. Come on, insect. Good insect.
And then the end of episode sort of reveal of the axon.
Yes.
It's a great shot, but would it have been better if you'd not seen them at the start?
Probably.
And of course, this clip was used on Blue Peter as well. I think in for the Five Doctors sort of publicity, because you've got this rather shambolic Axon in the studio, and Simon Groom and friends. But I do remember seeing the clip on Blue Peter.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. But they are a great monster, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think they're put out to an outside company for making or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I went to the Longley exhibition in the sort of 70s, there were a couple of Doctor Who poster magazines you could get.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them had a colour picture of the Axons in.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, seeing the Axons in the Doctor Who monster book. So I was fascinated by how the Axons were sort of portrayed on screen. And I think, they do get away with it.
Yeah.
I think they're one of the more memorable monsters.
Although it's got to be designed so that a person can get in it to operate it, it's not obvious because it's not human shaped.
And I like the fact that each Axon is different. So one's much more tentacly and one's got the sort of bit, and of course one ends up as the crinoid.
Yes.
Sort of sprayed green with a few bits of hair stuck on. But this first episode, and I think if you compare it with Spearheads in Space, a hell of a lot more happens in this episode. I know some people don't necessarily rate Axos, but I've always been very fond of it. I've always enjoyed watching it. I always enjoy going back to it.
It's a fun story as well.
And it just rattles along a pace. And I try to imagine what it would have been like watching it as a kid. I think mind-blowing is not too far a word. Just for the sheer amount of stuff that's being thrown on screen from minute to minute. And I cannot criticise anybody for trying. That's the thing. It doesn't all work, this story. I know it doesn't. And I know some people are a bit down on it, but it's ambitious.
Yes. And you can't fault it for that.
I love ambition. So there we are. So there's episode 1 of the Claws of Axos. We'll be back with episode 2, and we will have an associated program to look at.
Yes.
Go on, tell them what it is.
That features a guest actor.
Yes.
So we are going to look at, as long as it doesn't vanish, Come Back, Mrs. Nubber.
Come back, Mrs. Noah. Is that enough?
Yes.
I'll stop there.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.